¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Hoy vamos a tener un gran invitado, mi querido amigo Raj Parr, que es un gran sommelier. Él, por muchos años fue el director de vinos del grupo Michael Mina y hoy va a estar con nosotros para hablarnos de su libro, de, de Taste, Atlas of Taste. Y es muy interesante la forma en que él ha descubierto las diferentes apelaciones, las diferentes uvas, enfocándose más en la parte del paladar. Y bueno, vamos a ver qué tiene para nosotros el día de hoy. Nice to see you, my friend. How
Yeah,
are you?
all good. You?
Very good, very, very good. Just exciting to talk with you about many experiences that you have. And I have my wine ready. I am in a cellar. so now we're just waiting a few minutes to start with. And where are you living now?
I live in a little town called Cambria, which is in the coast of California. It's a small town.
Ah, okay, good. Where do you produce the wine?
No, yeah, I have a small farm here, so I farm my own. I have my own vineyard here, so I farm my vineyard and live here. Yeah, the other wines are made in Lompoc, with like maybe 1.5 hours away.
Not really far away. So and nowadays, did you get the vaccination already, or how is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, got it already.
No, here in Mexico, it's difficult because a lot of people, but I'm, the 40s, from 40s, 50s. I need to wait until July, probably, if I get lucky.
Hope so.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. So people, it's getting in the Zoom will be around 20, 30, depends. It's Saturday. What time is there now?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Good, good. Yeah, and I have my book ready as well. You see, I need
Nice.
your I need your signature here. and also is so what you have the first edition and you have the second edition. Which edition?
We are still, well, it's been printed many times, but we haven't made any. We made a few small corrections, but we didn't add anything yet. No.
Oh, got it, got it.
Yeah, we were going to revisit it, but now it's with the
Yeah,
pandemic, everything is on hold.
yeah, I can imagine. Well, so just one more moment and we're almost starting. And yeah, so I was thinking about the questions that I'm gonna ask today, because I have a lot of questions in my mind about the way that you taste. I remember the last time when I see you in the Sun 360 in Canada, and we were doing blind tasting, and I was really impressed. I mean, the techniques that you manage, and all about the taste that you mentioned that day. And but before we start with that, so I will ask you for the people who doesn't know you, how did you get in this business? Because you're originally from which part?
From India,
From India, but which part of India?
Calcutta, on the East
Calcutta.
Coast.
Okay. So, and how did you get involved in this business? Because when, how,
Yeah.
and because now you're a producer, but you started as a sommelier.
Yeah. No, I first came to. I loved cooking, and I went to hotel management school in India. Then I was working in the kitchen there. Then I went to a cooking school in New York, in upstate New York, at the Culinary Institute of America, and there was a wine class there, and that's when I started reading about wine. I had wine with my uncle in England when I was like 20 years old, and that's how I got interested. And then I moved to San Francisco and worked with a sommelier named Larry Stone.
Oh,
And
there's son. I know him. Yeah.
yeah, so I worked under him for 3 years, and yeah, that's how I started.
Okay. So, and then because when I met you, if you remember, we were part, I mean, not me, just a few months, but you were part of the Michael Mina group. And how was that period? Because I think for you, talking about the sommeliers, you were like almost in the on the top, no, of the hill or things like that.
Yeah, so that was great. It was great. We started with Michael Mina in 2003, and I've continued to work with him. We built a nice restaurant group. We had around when I left, I think there were maybe 26 restaurants, and yeah, it was a nice program. A lot of great people working together, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and yeah, at that time, I remember when I had an interview by phone, and you started to ask me about wines. And to be honest, when I see in the website the wine list that you had, I said, "Wow, should I study all these wines before I got the interview?" And I was very nervous, because I don't know which kind of questions are you going to ask me. Fortunately, I'm a gastronomic uh, guy too. So in that part, I think that I managed good. But the wine world, it's a huge thing that you never know what are you gonna ask. And but it was very good experience to work with you at that time.
Yeah.
So now you're a producer, you are like a consultant because you also help many people in doing blind testing, like Brian McClinton, that he always mentioned you like a kind of a mentor in these kind of things.
Yeah, it's how it is. You always try to help as many people as possible. When I was in the restaurant, I used to see a lot of people and taste with them, and whoever wants to come and taste. And now I don't get a chance to do much blind tasting or but yeah, back in the day it was really really fun to work in a restaurant and see people and taste with them. Those were a different time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but now it's another challenge because produce wine. It's I mean, I'm just trying right now to get involved in this part to produce wine. I already have my first wine too, but I don't produce it my own. I mean myself, because I have a friend who is helping me. But it's different because you are more involved in this process. Can you tell us a little bit more about your wines and what the way that you think about it?
Yeah, so we started. The first wine was we Sandy in 2009, and we were buying the grapes. It was mostly Chardonnay, and then we planted Domaine de la Côte around the same time, and 2011 was the first vintage. And in Sandy, we are negociant, and Domaine de la Côte, we are our own estate, so we are the producer and the grower. And our philosophy in wine, of course, the farming is organic. In the cellar, everything is done low intervention, so all natural yeast, no additives, except for a little sulfur at bottling, and try to make the wine with more freshness and vibrancy, and wines that are lighter bodied, not heavy or alcoholic. And so we do so mostly Domingo Coast Sandy. Then we have a vineyard in Oregon called Evening Land in the Willamette Valley. And then I have a small kind of a wine club, which we make a little bit of wine from all over California. And then now I have my own personal project, which I farm a little vineyard here in Cambria. And this is the first vintage, 2021.
Oh, first vintage 21. Good, good. So are you going to sell them in Mexico?
Oh,
Yeah.
we haven't found a importer yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, why not? I will post this video to announce that you are you are interested in our country. The consumption in Mexico is growing a lot, and since
Yeah.
we are a huge population, probably it will be very interesting for all the importers in the future. Nowadays, we drink around 1 liter per capita, but you know we are 120 million people, so
Yeah,
and probably just the 10% of them, including me, are we are drinking wine. So the other they don't drink, just beer.
yeah. No, I love Mexico. I've been several times to Mexico City and Oaxaca, and yes, very special. Really, I was supposed to, of course, come last year, or now, and hopefully I will come soon. You know,
Yeah.
I was a year ago before the pandemic. I was in Baja. I went to see went to Beachy, and yeah, it's so close. I mean, California is
Yeah, we're neighbors.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and last time I couldn't meet you. I mean, be with you because I have the paralysis, and as I told you, and it was difficult for me to be like that because I was scared. But now I'm okay. So next time maybe we should do like a kind of tasting things because you have a lot of to share, my friend. You have a lot of experience. So talking about wines, and tell us a little bit more how do you begin with this book? And I mean, who has the idea? Because I see that Jordan McKay is also involved in this.
Yeah,
But how was it?
you know, me and Jordan wrote our first book in 2011, I think, 2010, and that was Secrets of a Sommelier. And after that book, the publisher was, you know, was asking us to write another book, and we were like, no, not yet. It has to be something meaningful, you know, not just write a book. It has to be something important and something which will, you know, be around for a while, not just a book and gone. So we thought of this idea to talk about the the real soil and the history of how the wine, where the wine, why it tastes the way it tastes, you know, from the so wine from the taste perspective. And it took us 5 years of traveling and research and tasting and talking to people and mostly, of course, only on European wine. And yeah, so it was a book I wish I had when I was starting, where you can open one book and you can kind of, you know, understand Burgundy and Bordeaux and Rhone, all the classic variety, classic places.
Yeah, when I met you at that time, you were very in love of the Burgundy wines. I mean, your Burgundy list of wines was awesome, and so I don't want to say that probably is one of your favorite appellations or regions. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Burgundy, you know, I went there by mistake once in '96 and then just fell in love and then been going back regularly, you know, every year. Haven't missed a haven't missed a year since '96.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing. The people are amazing. The connection of the place and the person and the wine you can see in the glass. Unfortunately, now it's becoming, you know, become quite not only expensive but quite rare. And the wines we used to drink easily, you know, 10 years ago, now you can't even find a bottle. But you know, that's just the way it happens when things get more popular.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been many times there as well, but not like you, like trying the huge stuff, but trying to understand the way that they make the wine, the terroir, the mini terroir, I don't know how to say, but and the other day I listened a conversation with you and Pedro Parra, and you were talking about the terroir. And Pedro Parra, I also did a webinar with him, and it was awesome. All the I mean, the dedication that he has about the kind of soils and how the soil impacted the wine. So, what's your opinion about this term, terroir? What does it mean for you?
You know, I think it's a very important term. I think maybe it's overused in some places. Terroir is something which is not tangible. You know, you know it's there, but you don't know why it's there. You know there it's not one thing. It can be the place, the soil, the exposition, the drainage, and of course also the hand of the person who is, because as you know, vines don't grow on their own. Vines need, trellising, they need pruning, they need everything, they need help in the whole process. So I think the word terroir is important to identify wine, but it is something which is, shouldn't be overused. It's very specific.
Yeah, for me, it's like the persons, no? Like, for example, us. You are from India, but you grow up in California, probably, or I don't know where,
Yeah.
and you get information for that part. You get the customs, the folklore, the culture, the language. And myself, I was living in Mexico, and I eat tacos, and I struggle with the traffic things, and it's like the way that you grow up. And when I taste a wine, I try to see like the person, and the person have a very different options. I mean, profiles and things like that. So, but talking about terroir, how do you identify the terroir on the? I mean, I'm agree with you that sometimes you don't know how to express that. You just feel it or not.
Yeah, you just feel it. You just feel it. You just you of course you taste it, you understand it, and then you kind of, it's something in your heart. It's not something which is just, it's an emotion. You feel the emotion of the place.
Okay, good. But when you say taste and terroir, and you do the like a kind of tasting, you just agree, or you just taste like that and try to imagine things? How's the process?
Well, it depends. If I'm tasting to really analyze a wine, then I focus on, like, then I like to, have them. I'm a very fast taster. Like, I don't like, if you give me a wine blind, I'm quickly, it'll be like 1 minute maybe. It's, and that's the way I was trained to taste fast. So if I'm just drinking wine, then I'm just like, it's different. When I'm tasting wine, then I'm, very much focused on the intricacies. I think something which we forget a lot of times is the texture of wine. I think
Okay.
all wines have texture. They have depth. They have jagged edges, or they're round, or they're hollow, or they're long. There are many shapes. I think people don't oftentimes talk about the shapes of the texture of wine, and I try to kind of focus on that, because the nose is, you smell it, something, and it'll tell you. But then when you swallow it, and when you spit it out, you feel that texture. That is the emotion, I think, very important in wine.
Yeah. Do you have wine with you?
Right now,
Yeah.
no, I
No.
don't. I
No. Don't
it's
worry.
I have to go back to work in the farm right now, so it's still
Ah,
it's
don't worry.
early.
It's what I mean. In which season it's now? I mean the.
So we are just we have my vineyard here. We are just maybe 2 weeks away from flowering.
Ah, okay, flowering. Okay. Wow. And and how many hectares do you have there?
4.5.
4.5. Good. It's not. It's not small. I mean, it's not big.
Yeah,
But which kind of grapes do you have there?
we have 14 different varieties planted.
Ah, 14.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's one first vineyard is Chardonnay, pink Chardonnay, and then there's a field blend of Trousseau, Mencia, Palomino, Mission, Garnacht, and Torera. And then we have one vineyard with Gamay, Mondos, Pinot, and then one vineyard with Sauvignon and Pulsar, and then the last vineyard is Jacquer, Altesse, Granger, and Mondos.
okay. That very impressive. So, but you're doing this to see which one it's getting. I mean, more approachable in that terroir, or
No, no, I've planted all this myself. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's all gonna work.
And are you going to blend them all, or you're going to do monovarietal?
Yeah, each vineyard will have its own wine, and there'll be probably 10 different wines from 4.5 hectares.
Good, good. So tell us a little bit more about the book that you have, and tell us where we can get it. I have this one,
Yeah.
but people who is here in the meeting soon, uh, about the visits that you make, and how did you start with this process of understand the taste and the texture, the shapes that you mentioned?
Yeah, the book is divided. It's all European wine. It's divided by region, and the whole idea here is to understand the background, the cultural, and the regional diversity of each place. So it's there's no maps, for example, in the book. It's
Yeah.
just about the taste. It's the atlas of taste. So from your mouth, of how you go to a place, and we see all the top producers, and there's a lot of dialogue, and a lot of you you almost feel that you read the book, that you're in that place, and hopefully you feel the emotion. And the writing is also very, it's easy and comfortable. It's not too formal, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's the most important thing. Sometimes there are some books, but are more technical, and this is very easy to read.
yeah, and we talk about the place and the people, and of course the wines, and yeah, it's a very comfortable read, and so you feel more connected with the place.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, in terms of the taste, because we're going to talk about the taste now. We have flavors, we have textures, as you mentioned, tannins, softenings. I don't know how to say the different shapes. So, and each people have a different profile in the tongue, in the mouth, the palate in general. So, how do you give us some tips? For example, if you are drinking like a Burgundy style from Bon Romanée, so what do you try to find on the palate?
For one Romane, of course, things have changed recently with all the change in the climate. But in classic Von Romane, will have lots of red fruit. Will be quite fragrant on the nose, but will have this kind of minerality. So it depends which part of the slope you're in. If you're in the bottom clay side, you get more kind of a little more texture, a little more body. Higher up the slope, you get slightly more edgy, more kind of bony, more angular. And if you're in the Grand Cru, you get the power, and but you still get finesse. It's so it depends on in one slope in one Romane, you could get 6 to 8 different expressions, depending where you are on that slope, depending how much clay and limestone is together. So one Romane is known for its high quality clay. It's kind of iron rich clay, and it shows in the glass. It's very very classic compared to maybe Chambon Musigny, where you get slightly bonier, more edgy, more slightly firmer tannins, a little bit more acidity, and just because of the more limestone, less clay, and slightly higher up the villages.
Yeah, sometimes when people talk about Burgundy wines, they always imagine that the tannins are soft, but as you mentioned now, it's not always like that. And you can have a tannic wine also with Pinot Noir, but not tannic as the Barolo, for example. And talking about Barolo, and how do you describe? Because it's the king of the tannins. So, and how you can make a differentiation, for example, Barbaresco, Barolo, or the regular Barolos versus with the Cru Barolos, things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, Barbaresco, first of all, is quite different because it's slightly hills are slightly more gentle. There's a lot more decomposition. So there's more sandier limestone in Barbaresco. The wines are more round and refined. They are not as punchy and tannic as it is in Barolo. That's why you age Barolo a year. It's released a year later. Also in Barolo, it's a big difference between Serralunga and La Mora. So La Mora, you have more kind of that sandy limestone soils. So the wines are fruitier, richer, slightly more upfront, and you can drink them younger. And then you have Serralunga, which is much more limestone, hard limestone, and you have much more tannin and much more backbone. You don't have the same generosity. The wine needs another 5-10 years more than La Mora to really show its perfume.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's interesting what you mentioned. But as I understand, you always try to, when you talk about the taste, it's very integrate into the soils as well. Because you mentioned the salts and you mentioned the texture, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The soil is the backbone. So the clay gives you the muscle, and the rock gives you the bones. And that's almost unanimous in all red wines. It's not always the same for white wines because the skins don't play much of a part in white wine. They do play a part, but not as much as red wine because you're not extracting from skins. So skins are where the roots, depending on how deep they go or how they struggle, they will form a thicker skin in some places, depending on the variety.
Okay. So maybe one recommendation to the people who are starting in this business is to try to understand the soils of the main regions of the world.
Yeah,
Okay.
important.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the Shiraz? The Shiraz from the home, for example, versus the Shiraz from Australia.
Yeah, big difference. Of course, not only the soil is different, of course, but there is some limestone also in Australia. But it's just the weather. It's Syrah is grown in cool climate in the northern Rhone,
Yeah.
which is most places. Shiraz is grown in Australia as in a warm climate. So Syrah is not a warm climate grape. It's a cool climate grape, and it struggles when it's in a hot place. It likes. It's closer to Pinot Noir than it is to anything else. It still lacks fragrance and intensity. Yeah.
Can we say that probably Ron are more shy in the nose, but are more heavier in the mouth?
Yeah, it depends where you are. It
Oh
depends,
yeah, the appellation.
depends where you are. Coroti is much lighter, softer. Cornas is more burly. You can drink Coroti younger. Cornas needs more time.
That's a pretty a very tough training, for example, to do the comparison between the appellations from the home, like Coroti, Hermitage, Cornas, and Joseph, because all of them are from the same kind of grade. But
Yeah.
when you do a blind tasting, how can you identify them?
Um, I guess if taste a lot to kind of figure out. Cornas always has big tannins and more burly, and Coroti is the opposite, much silkier, softer. It's a different kind of granite. It's also a cooler climate. Cornas gets warm. Coroti is much cooler than Cornas. And then you have in the middle, you have Hermitage, which is depending who makes it. Usually, it's quite concentrated and almost more similar to Bordeaux than it is to Coroti in a way, until it gets old.
Okay, I got it. I got it. So when you started to do like a blind tasting, do you start with the classics or do you start with the grape
All classics.
monovarietal?
Yeah, you got to know the classics. I think that's the key.
Okay,
Start with the classics and understand the classics. Follow the classics, and then you can of course deviate and have other things. But if you don't know the classics, it's hard to build infrastructure.
Yeah. So the other question that, I mean, the other taste that is very tough for me is when I do the tasting of Riesling. Riesling, for example, for me, that comes from Moselle, Rango, Pfalz, all, you know, all the German styles are, uh, it's very different for me. And sometimes in a blind tasting, it's difficult to identify them. Any tip about it?
Yeah, I mean, again, things are changing rapidly, and we have so many warm vintages now in a row. Um, and yeah, Rhine Riesling, so Rheingau versus Mosel. Mosel is much cooler, and you get more piercing acidity. Also, with most Mosel Rieslings, you get more of that kind of that herbal Riesling elderflower kind of, and you get less of that in the Rheingau. Rheingau is more texture, and nowadays the way it's going is they are making less sweet wines, so there's more dry wines. You just see that Rheingau has more texture and more body than the Mosel. And then you have Rheinhessen, which is, so soil is different. It's limestone versus in Mosel you have different igneous soils, and it's very different. And when you come to limestone and Rheinhessen, it's a whole different story. Also in the Pfalz, you could have sandstone, limestone, and igneous. So it's very, very different. But mostly just by style, Mosel slightly leaner, sharper, Rheingau slightly more texture, depending on the producer also.
I got it. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's very interesting what you mentioned because now you are mixing soils, climate, and aromas, flavors. Yeah, it's getting in the whole parameters to identify the each kind of profile. And sometimes, you know, when I started to do a blind tasting, I always get confused because I have a lot of labels in my mind. You know how to identify them,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and little by little, I started to get into the soil. I'm a soil lover, I would say. I try to study a lot the soils, but sometimes it's hard for me to identify the profile of the soil into the wines.
Yeah.
But now, what I have in mind, it's when you started in this business, which kind of wines are were more approachable for you at the time? You always started with the old world, or
Yeah, I was lucky, and I got spoiled early because of working at Rubicon with Larry Stone. I went straight to Burgundy. I had access to all these wines. Also in the late '90s, wine was not expensive. You know, you could buy a Burgundy which cost $1,000. You could buy it for $50 then. So it was not that difficult. So the access was much, much different than what it is now. So I was lucky. So I went straight to Burgundy, Rhone. I loved Rhone, Piedmont, and I was lucky to meet a lot of producers and then travel a lot. Also, I used to save all my money and then go on one trip a year to Europe.
wow, it was awesome. So can we say that you started, you know, like driving a Mercedes Benz?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah, lucky you.
Fortunate.
So yeah, talking about pairing, because you were working in, I mean, you are a cooker, or I don't know how to, yeah, cooker,
Yeah.
and you love to cook, and you are a very well connoisseur of wine. So when you do a pairing, what do you have in mind? How do you do it?
I don't really. I mean, I try to stay in flavors. I try to stay if it's like first of all, the rule, everyone has different rules. The first rule is good food and good wine, right?
Yeah,
And then after that, you can go down to, there are many other rules that should be broken. Like people say, oh, you can't have white wine with, meat and red wine with fish because you can have anything you want. So I kind of try to match the flavors, try to match the acidity, match the flavors, and match the body of the wine. So you could have a white wine with roast chicken, or you can have a red wine with roast chicken, depending on what your mood is, where you are, what's outside. Are you eating inside? Are you eating outside? So matching matching flavors, but also matching the texture of the wine. Sometimes you want something which is you're eating a creamy lobster dish, and you want something with acidity to cut through the fat. So
Yeah.
it's there's so many different examples.
What's your favorite play? I mean, that you cook?
Oh, I differently every day. I don't have one favorite. I've been cooking a lot in my fireplace now, just grilling on the open fire, which has been really great. Really enjoying
Yeah.
it.
Okay, Mexican food. Do you know about Mexican food? Because a lot of Mexicans are living there.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I've been to I've been to Mexico City and Oaxaca several times now. So yeah, yeah, we have a great little taco place here in Cambria. Really good.
You're a taco lover?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which are your favorites?
Oh, I like pastor, my favorite.
Okay, tell me wine for the pastor taco.
Oh, you gotta have a Beaujolais, a
Ah,
nice,
Beaujolais.
yeah,
Okay.
nice Gamay.
Okay, like Morgon, Moulin Vent, things like
Yeah,
that.
maybe Morgon, maybe the Foillard Morgon, or maybe Lapierre. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, good. Very nice. I never imagined that you are a pastor taco lover. I couldn't imagine. So, what kind of music? Do you like music?
yeah. I like jazz.
Okay.
I listen to everything, but I have a collection of records here, vinyl. So
Oh, really? Ha- ha- Listen, the Pharaohs, Freedom Road. You like that?
yeah.
Okay. Pick a wine to pair with this.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could think probably like I think it's maybe a Riesling from Alsace, maybe
Oh, really?
A Schuller Riesling. Be nice, something upbeat, something fresh, dry.
Okay. Like maybe something from the no the Rinkeby, things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Schuller. Schuller is a good producer. I like the wines from Schuller.
And what about this? You know this style? This is salsa.
Oh yeah.
I always like to do this because as a sommeliers, we always think about food, but just a few things we talk about moments or kind of music in this case.
Yeah,
You like to dance, Rush?
yeah. Well, a little bit.
A little bit. So, which one
I
do
think
you
I
pick?
think that'll be with maybe a Loire Cabernet Franc, a Chinon.
Oh, Chinon. Okay, it's a strong wine.
No, Chinon is good,
Oh,
light,
Chinon.
fresh. Chinon could be light and fresh. Yeah, Baudry. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
It's you know, Samuel
Or
Champagny is much bigger, and yeah,
Chamon Champigny. Okay,
Chinon usually is more fresh and acid. Yeah,
high acid, herbal notes,
yeah,
things like
exactly.
that. Okay, good. Okay, nice. I really like that. So and I think that nowadays people, with this situation, the pandemic situation, many people are suffering, and many people are scared as well. I started to do this kind of webinars with the pandemic. Now I don't know how many. Fernando, I don't know. Do you remember how many? have we made? I don't remember. But we had here people like Jancis Robinson, Tim Apkin, you, Pedro Parra, Alberto Antonini. Probably you know all of them. They're quite famous people, and it's very interesting to share with you. With the, I mean, and you can share the knowledge that you have, your experience with us. Um, and Catalina is asking, what do you recommend to improve span olfactory memory? That's a pretty good question, Catalina. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you should always smell as many things as possible. When I started off, I used to buy different herbs and put them in the glass and cover them and smell it. Buy different fruits and cover them and then just smell it over the day. And then also good to kind of buy things which are like, a rose. A smell of a fresh rose is quite different than a smell of a dried rose. Same thing if you have a smell of a fresh strawberry is different than a crushed strawberry, then different than a cooked strawberry. So you can do a lot of things at home and kind of just train your nose, because if your nose has never tasted an overripe or smelt an overripe pineapple, you're not going to know the smell of overripe pineapple or papaya or lemongrass or whatever the case may be. So our memories are only what we have shared with our mind and our brain. So
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank, yeah, Catalina, you have a lot of work to do. Go to the supermarket right away. The other thing that I always recommend is that smell everything that you eat. It's simple. Sometimes we are rushing, like every time. But nowadays we have more time, like, to be relaxed and really enjoy the 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 all the food. So Fernando said that we already make more than 40. Oh, that's very good. Actually, we are going to have the anniversary in May, so I will explain you later. And so tell us about your club. I mean, for example, Catalina is living in Miami. Probably she wants to be part of your club. How does it works?
it's a wine club which we produce wines only goes to that club. And there's two ways. There's one as a subscription. You pay a fixed price and you get 6 or 12 bottles sent to you. And then the other is you can just be on the mailing list, and every time we release a new wine, you can just be on the list and you can just buy a la carte.
And you select all the wines.
I make all the wines.
You make all the wines, sorry. Okay, good. Okay, but it's also, I mean, but for Mexico, it's very difficult, but maybe in United States, they can get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people from some other parts of the world?
Sometimes, yeah, in the UK or Norway or um, yeah, people get it from other places, depending. But shipping is expensive, as you know.
Okay, uh, I will just say one word and you answer with one word. Uh, just whatever comes in your mind. Like for example, family.
Far away.
Okay, that's hard. Uh, Wine.
Drink it every day. Drink.
Okay, it's more than one word, but it's okay. And minerality.
Thoughtful.
Okay, terroir.
Sometimes.
Burgundy.
I wish.
Okay, so inspiration.
Important.
Important. Yeah, yeah. So, my friend, you've been doing a lot of things. You already been a sommelier. Now you're a producer and writer, and I can say mentor of so many other people. What is the next challenge for you?
Oh, I don't know. Just farming, just hands on in the dirt.
Kid. But you farm only grapes or also some other things?
I planted an apple orchard, so apples and grapes, and I raise animals. So I have to go right now and feed my animals. You know, I have sheep and chickens and dogs on the farm. Yeah.
Oh, I really want to visit you, man. I can survive with apples and wines.
Yeah.
I work with you and you pay me with wine and apples, okay?
And eggs or chickens.
Eggs and chickens, yeah, yeah. So very nice talking to you all this time. Um, I don't know if the people want to ask something, guys. If you want to ask something directly to Rush Parr, it's the opportunity before we finish with this conversation. But I have in mind, uh, what about the top inspirations in your career? I mean, could be a producer, could be a sommelier, could be anyone that inspired you to be better and better tasting or being a sommelier or producer now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Larry Stone was my mentor and inspiration from when I met him first in 1996. You know, Jim Clendenin, Wong Klima, he's taught me a lot about wine. You know, Jean-Marc Rouleau and Marcel, who's taught me a lot about wine. There's, you know, a lot of people who help and continue to help and act as mentors and friends and keep each other moving, you know, moving forward.
Yeah, okay. So, any recommendation that you want to give in the next some years in the future?
Yeah, just trust your palate and stay inquisitive. You know, always stay curious. Don't shut down your mind. Just keep asking why and how.
Especially in this time, no, because a lot of things are happening, a lot of changes are happening very quickly in terms of climate, for example.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to start with the classics, but also you can taste some other grapes. You know what I'm doing now? I'm tasting things like I never taste before, like Palagrello Nero or Falanginas from Italy, and things like usually are not really common. No, different kind of grapes,
Yeah.
grapes from Moldavia, Greece, and but because sometimes we are very focused in the international grapes, like everybody knows, like Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, things like that. But the world of wine, it's more impressive when you see the whole thing. Yeah, yeah. So, so 2021 is your first vintage, and are you going to release when?
Next year. Next year.
Uh, okay, good. This one, it's a Godello. You like Godello?
Yeah.
So this one has a lot of minerality. This one comes from Mauro,
Okay.
from Spain. Yeah, and it's a lot of texture, a lot of viscosity in the mouth. Also, a high expression, as you said, in the mouthfeel. I really like this. I prefer nowadays. I'm in La Paz. It's in the north part of Mexico. Have you been in La Paz?
No.
You should come. I will invite you to come here and we do some tastings and it will be very fun. The most beautiful views are here.
Great.
A lot of cruise ships comes here just to see the beaches are pretty, very pretty. Yeah, and that's why I prefer white wine instead of red wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, later I will be in the service doing like chocolate tasting things, and I don't know how it's going to work, but yeah, they have prepared everything already. So, my friend, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure, and hopefully, I'll see you in Cambria soon.
Yes, I will. I will message you when I go. First of all, I need to get my visa again because it was expired in 2020 because of the pandemic. I couldn't, renew, but I will try to do it as very soon as soon as possible. But Anyway, I will let you know. And also, please, if you come to Mexico, let me know, and we can have a glass of wine together. And thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please keep safe, and
thank you too.
See you somewhere in the world.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, bye, my friend.
Bye.
Thank you. So.